Okay, welcome back to the channel. I'm Tom Youngs, your best mate, and today we are talking about what I believe is the easiest way to get to 100K per month in a creator business, and that's by building a micro cult brand. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So let's put 30 minutes on the clock and get to action. Where are you? 30 minutes. 30 minutes, 30 minutes, 30 minutes. We're in business. Okay, let's go. So it's going to be a fun one today. We're going to be talking about the three main things that make up a micro cult brand. And if you know the biggest creators out there, let's throw out some names: the Hormozis, Iman Gadgis, Ali Abdaal, Dan Koh, Hamza, even the Andrew Tate. I said that a little bit. Hopefully the algorithm doesn't ping me for that. But these guys are all masters at creating a micro cult brand. And so we're going to be talking about the blueprint to get there, because it's kind of what I've used to grow my business. Just had another record month in the business. We did 170 odd-ish K in new business in June. And so I kind of know this thing works because I've used it myself. I don't have a huge audience. I've got currently, I think, 77,000 followers on Instagram. I've got obviously a few hundred subs here on my channel, on this channel. And then on my main channel, I think I've got about 25,000 subs on my main channel. And I've got about around 10,000 email list subscribers. Pretty warm. I keep that community nice and warm, so the open rates are pretty high, just to give you a bit of an idea of where I'm at with things. So that'll give you an idea of how big my audience is in relation to my income levels. But I want you to be able to do it. So that's what we're going to talk about today, because I've studied all of those rude boys that we've been talking about, and I noticed that they all were using the same formula, the same framework, the same blueprint to be able to make crazy amounts of money based on not having a huge global brand. So I used to be like a funnel analytics consultant for big enterprise brands. So like companies like Pizza Hut, banks like Lloyds, NatWest, TSB, Virgin Atlantic, Virgin Holidays were a couple of my clients. Luxury brands like Chanel, Tommy Hilfiger, Selfridges, Harrods. So I used to work as a consultant to help all of their teams optimize their funnels, their online funnels. And I was like, wait a sec. Like these dudes on their own somehow putting more money into their businesses, into their pockets than some of these brands are. I mean, not literally, but I'm like from a kind of a scale perspective, we're looking at like the scale they are putting in for the amount of energy that they're putting into the system. They're getting so much more out. And I was like, these guys are doing something different. Turns out, I realized they've built cult brands, micro cult brands. So let's give you the blueprint for that today. And if you're interested in kind of like just learning a little bit more about how I've done this stuff, I have a newsletter that I send out a few times a week. It's all about kind of giving you the real in-time insider's insights into how I'm building a creator business. I have a solo consulting business where I don't do sales calls. I don't have complex funnels. I literally, it's like as simple as it can be. I don't have any kind of like, yeah, it's kind of sick. So small team, like 93 to 96% profit in the last few months. So it's kind of sick. If you want to see how I'm doing it, just sign up to the newsletter down below. The link will be in the description. Let's talk about the micro cult brand blueprint. It's made up of 3 parts: W, S, and P. So let's talk about W first. W is world. The first part of a micro cult brand is creating a world and most importantly, letting your audience understand what your world looks like. So when we talk about a world, the analogy that I like to use is the TV show Friends. So if any of you are millennials like I am, you would have grown up on really 3 main TV shows: Friends, The Simpsons, and or South Park. I didn't watch much South Park, but most of my friends did. I watched like The Simpsons. I don't know why I didn't really get into South Park. I watched it when I was really young. And then Friends. Friends, those were the 3 main things. And all 3 of those have the exact same parts of this. And this is why they had cult audiences too. So let's talk about, I'll use Friends as an example because that's kind of my favorite, because it's literally called Friend, because that's kind of what we're aiming to do here, is we are aiming to have a build parasocial relationships with our audience where it feels like we are friends with them. So if we saw them in the street, we'd be like, wait a minute, is that a friend? And then it's like, nah, you're not. Like, you're just someone, you're just a famous face. I'll give you an example. So the other day I was at the gym that I work out at. It's a fairly exclusive gym, and I was doing bicep curls next to a British rapper called Stormzy. And I was like, this is kind of fucking wild. Like, I've like watched this guy on like stages. He's like basically the biggest rapper in the UK. And I was literally next to him on a bench, and I was doing curls next to him, and I was like, no, fuck it. I'm just going to literally put on some Stormzy whilst I do curls next to Stormzy. So that's what I did. So I saw him, and I was like, I recognize his face. And for a second, it's like, you think our brains are designed to think, oh, I know that person. But what I had with him was a parasocial relationship where I kind of felt like I knew him, but I realized I had to immediately realize, nope, I don't know who the fuck that is. He doesn't know who I am, but I'm aware of who he is. And so that's a parasocial relationship. And that's what we're trying to do. And that's what Friends did, the TV show. So in Friends, they have three main things that allow us to feel like we know them. So the first is there are characters in the world of Friends. So let's see if I can rattle them off. Joey, Phoebe, Rachel, Monica, Ross. Joey, Phoebe, Rachel, Monica, Ross. Chandler. Fuck, I nearly forgot Chandler. Fuck. Matt Perry, R.I.P. So my favorite was Joey. I just thought he was really hilarious. So he was my favorite character. But there were characters within the world. So in your world, who are the characters in your world? And this is where you kind of have to be intentional and careful around this. I'm not a big fan of, for lack of a better phrase, whoring out your children for views. I'm a little bit like, try and stay away from that. I know that's a pretty graphic thing, but I think my belief is you kind of have to be a little bit careful about this. But I'm absolutely cool in doing it. You just have to be aware of the potential ramifications of putting your kids on social media. But everyone else, as long as they're cool with it, is fair game. So friends, family, colleagues, people that you work with, those are the who. And what you kind of want to do is you want to intentionally bring people into your world, and the people who you're closest with more frequently, you want to bring them in more frequently so they become side characters. So they become like the, who's the dude in the coffee shop? Gunther, or ugly naked guy who they they see in the across the buildings. Who else is there? There's like the parents of the characters, who are the sister, like Rachel's sister. So like who are these characters, and who are the side characters in your world? Now, okay, when we identify who the characters are, the question is like, what do they do? What are their interests? What are your interests? What the fuck are you interested in? So I'm interested in things like golf, skiing, being in the mountains, exercise, like functional fitness. I'm doing my first ultra marathon in a couple of weeks, in like less than 2 weeks time, which is going to be kind of scary, not going to lie. But like, what are the things that you're interested in? Because here's how this works. When you put out your beacon of energy into the world through content, and you talk about the things that you enjoy and you like, you inevitably create this vortex of energy that brings people back, because the algorithms are so fucking good at getting that information to the right people. They know what everyone's interests are. The algos know exactly what I'm interested in. It knows everything about me. And so when you put that out there through your content, you drop that stuff in, it means your content will get to the right people. And this is where you really start to build this cult-like audience, where you're building this vortex of energy around people who are interested in the similar types of things. So this is super important. What are your interests? Okay, then the final thing when we're looking at a world is sets. And this is where are you? So for me, I'm in London. I talk about the fact that I'm in London and the fact that I've chosen to live in London frequently. This is my preference. My preference is to live in this kind of tower riverside apartment here in London with an amazing view of London. And I've talked about my journey to get here. My preference is for living in London. I was born in London. But before Christmas last year, I managed to tick off one of my dreams, which was to leave London during the worst months of the year, which are November, January, and February. And I went and lived in South Africa, in Cape Town, for November and October and November and half of December. And I escaped the season that I hated the most, and it was sick. And so what I made to do is I made sure I documented that. I was in my Instagram stories. Here I'm in Cape Town. Here I'm climbing this thing. I've like made content that it was like, hey, I'm doing this stuff. I'm traveling the world. I'm living this life of freedom. And that's why sets are really important. And so think about this in like the context of your world. So where do you hang out? This could be the gym. You know, this is why I call this the Office of Destiny, because this is one of my sets. Quite literally, it is a set for my content. This is the Office of Destiny. This bad boy is the whiteboard of truth. This is one of the artifacts in my set. Just like the big kind of like chairs that like Joey and I can't remember what they're called. Some people be like, they're screaming out at me. What are those lazy boy chairs? Like the lazy boy chairs that Chandler and Joey used to lay back on. Because I've got my desk of domination. I've got the Office of Destiny. I've got the whiteboard of truth. Like, what more do you want? So I've got my sets. What are yours? Okay, next up, we've got beliefs. Now, this is, I mean, these are all incredibly important parts of this, to be honest. Like, there's no ones which are more important, but this could be the most important. What are your core values? What does this mean? This means, what are your beliefs? What are the things that you believe to be true in this world? This is extremely important because this is what will determine whether your messaging, the message that you put out into the market, will be a magnet to the right people and it will repel the wrong people. Beliefs and your core values and putting them out into the world is how you do that. So for me, let me think about like my beliefs. My core belief is around autonomy and freedom. I fucking hate being told what to do by people. I hate it. I've always hated it my entire life, and I will forever hate it until the fucking moment I take my last breath. Hate being told what to do. I don't know why. I just hate it. Actually, I do know why. I figured this out a couple of months ago. So when I was a kid, I was like 4 years old, and my very, 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 very first memory, I was very excited. I'm an excited guy. I'm a very like positive, like glass half full type of dude. I will make when my clients, I make them feel like they want to run through a brick wall. I feel like that's one of my skills. When I was 4, I jumped up, swung my arms around because I was really excited because I knew it was towards the end of the day. Accidentally poked some kid in the eye. Kid starts bawling. Teacher comes over to me and is like, "You can go in the naughty corner for the rest of the day." And that was my very, very, very first memory. I must have been 3 or something like that, like around 3. And I remember going into the naughty corner and being like, not being able to comprehend how I had gone from a feeling of elation and ecstasy and happiness because we just like finished the day, we'd just done some fun little activity or some shit. And then my teacher or whatever was like, "You're naughty." I couldn't comprehend it. And so from that moment onwards, I hated authority. And authority is just one of those parts of the feeling of freedom. And so I actually did find out last year why I hate authority, or why I don't like being told what to do. What are your beliefs? So you need to list these out. So what are the things that you believe in that other people, and ultimately what beliefs are opinions, okay? So beliefs are opinions. Because if you can have an opinion on something, then that's how you repel the wrong people and you act as a magnet to the right people. Okay, the second part of this is having unique methods or mechanisms. This is intellectual property. You need to come up with your own unique frameworks, models, systems, your way of doing things that is different to the way other people do things. You need to give them unique names. You need to give them signature names so that people are like, okay, I'll give you an example for me. I call my model the one simple flywheel model of scaling from 0 to 100K per month. No complex funnels. I'm not doing sales calls. I don't have a sales team. I don't have all of the bullshit that so many people in the market are doing to grow their businesses. Instead, I just use one simple flywheel. And that has what has allowed me to build what I call a lifestyle boutique business. So this is where my business is optimized for my lifestyle, not optimized for revenue. Okay, so high profit, high freedom is what my business is about. That's my IP. Okay. Next up, we've got enemies. And the key with this is you need to throw rocks at your enemies. What does that mean? You need to be able to describe the enemies, which is your antithesis. So your unique methods and unique mechanism is your thesis about how things should be done. The enemies are the opposite to that unique mechanism or unique method. So I'll give you an example. My one simple flywheel model is all about lead depth and lead efficiency. So that's where I don't need a shitload of leads, because my model is not based on converting leads as soon as they are aware of me, which is what cold traffic and cold outreach typically does. It's based on high, quick, like rapid conversion from someone to go take someone who doesn't know you to a client really fast. Now, in my opinion, what that ends up with, shithead clients, dickhead clients, headache clients. I think I said headache twice. I don't know. Anyway, the worst clients possible. You want, in my opinion, you want months between someone realizing who you are and buying from you. And that is optimizing for best quality of clients, least headaches, most fun. That is what I'm all about. And so if someone's like, oh yeah, I found out about you yesterday and was binging your stuff, I'm like, okay, keep binging my stuff because I don't want you to buy from me yet because you don't know who I am yet. I want you to keep binging. And so what I do in my content is I throw rocks at the cold outreach nerds, the people sending out thousands of cold DMs, thousands of cold emails every day, trying to convert cold traffic into customers and clients, ending up having to give loads of refunds, ending up having to give just loads of time into their client. It's just bullshit. So that's an example of me throwing rocks at my enemies. Okay, so that's the first thing. The first thing is world, okay? You need to have your world figured out, and that is made up of characters, interests, sets, core values, unique mechanisms, and enemies, okay? And the way to do this is just to write this stuff out, okay? Okay, second, how are we doing on time? We've got 12 minutes left, we can do this. Second is stories, okay? And this is made up of two main areas. This is firstly the journey, okay? So your journey, talking about your journey. And then the second part is results. Ultimately, like, what are the results of your journey, okay? So let's talk about your journey. So your journey is made up of three different parts here. The first is your origin, and this is your backstory. Where have you come from? What has made you you? That's why I talked about my example of being told off when I was like 3 years old. I'm literally telling you about my backstory, my origin of why autonomy and freedom is the most fundamental core belief to me, because it's my first fucking memory. Like now that gives you an understanding of like, oh, Tom, when he talks about freedom, he's not just saying it because it's like a buzzword. He's saying it because at his absolute core, that's the most important thing in his life, freedom. So now you know. So what is your backstory? What are the things, the events, the stories, the things that have happened in your life to make you you, and all of these to be true? So what is it in your backstory that make these things, your beliefs, your intellectual property, who are your enemies? Why are those the case? And that comes from your backstory and origin. Okay, now when we know where we've come from, we need to know where we're going, and that's why we need a vision. Okay, and you need to make sure that your audience are crystal clear on where you're heading. And this is why I talk about really simple stuff like I'm just going to be the best. And that's a very simple thing for me to say, because I know that the journey of me becoming the best is a multi-year, multi-decade journey. And it's a journey where it's going to ultimately result in me becoming the best that I can be, because there's no way to define what is the best, but I'm going to be the best. And I'm on the path to get there. I'm just very early on in my journey. And alongside that, the vision is by becoming the best version of myself, I will pull others along with me and have an impact that allows others to transform their lives. And where this comes into is like the vision typically links back to all of this stuff over here. So the vision of like where you're heading is usually because of these things. It's usually because of your beliefs and your enemies. You want to move towards your beliefs and you want to move away from your enemies. And so your vision is a picture of an amalgamation of those two things. So for me, it's having time freedom, it's having location freedom, it's having freedom to get up and do whatever you want, whenever you want. It's like, it's this the ultimate feeling of like, I get to decide how I spend my time. So once we've got a vision, we then need a mission. And this is what I tend to do with a mission is I keep it in kind of like 1 year to 3 year chunks. And the mission is over the next like 3 years, what is the tangible results of the vision? So for me, for example, this year, one of my goals or my missions was to get to 2 million in client wins in 2025. Now it is currently July. It's July, the 14th of July, Monday the 14th of July. And 2 weeks ago, I officially hit 2 million in client results for this year, which is sick. So I smashed my target for this year and my mission. So I've now got to set the next mission. And that's something I'm currently figuring out because I'm like, well, I smashed that one. I need to make the next one. So I'm in a process. I'm in a now reconfiguration period for my mission. But when you get clear on that, you need to talk about that in your content. Okay, give people a reason to join your mission. And here's the kind of like key to this. When you have a mission, the most important thing is to understand that the hero is not you. It is your customers, okay? So the people that buy from you, you need to make them feel like they are the hero of their own movie. And this really ties into the results part. So we're looking at 3 kind of main areas at demonstrating results. The first is that there are going to be customers in your customer base who are heroes, and you need to showcase those heroes. And the way you do that is you showcase them through customer transformations. So a transformation is taking someone from here to here through a bunch of success milestones. Okay, so we've got point A, point B, and then we have customer success milestones along the way. And our job as guides, ultimately we're guides, is to navigate them from A to B and get them to each of these milestones along the way. And that's how we end up getting customer transformations. The final part is turning those transformations into case studies. So sales assets that you can use in your content. So you can turn, and how you do this is through interviews. Okay, so interviews following a very simple formula for case study interviews. The way I do this is we're looking at really asking 4 main questions. We're looking at what was life like objectively before you started working with me. So what were the objective, tangible things that your life looked like? So for me, I help people, business owners. So they were stuck. They were stuck hitting a ceiling at 10K per month. They had like a sales team that weren't performing, or they were fed up of having such a giant team and they were having to manage, and they were just fed up of it. And so that was like the tangible part of it was like that they were stuck at 10K or they were stuck at 50K a month or whatever. And then the subjective part of it. So the next question is, what was life like subjectively? Is all of the words that they would use to describe those feelings. So I'm fed up. I'm just sick of having to manage like a huge team. I mean, I got a message the other day from a girl who, she might watch this content. She was saying she does 70K a month. She takes home 8K a month. And so her profit is like 10% or like 15%. Because she's got like 4 coaches, 3 salespeople, fucking absolute shit show. My thoughts go out to you, but like that is the subjective part of it is I'm fed up of it. constantly dealing with like low profit because I'm sick of having to manage teams. I feel like I don't have my finger on the pulse when it comes to managing my clients. And I just feel like I'm a manager, not a creator or a coach like I want to be. So what are the objective parts, the objective statistics from work before working with you? What are the subjective feelings before working with you? Then the second part of this is, okay, what was life after? What was like life after? The objective and subjective way to describe how you were after. So you ask them the question, what was life like after you started working with me? And then the final question you ask, what was the thing that made you want to work with me? What was the like get your ass off the fence moment? And it typically is people watching a case study video. That's typically what that is. So that's what we need. We need stories, and we need a shitload of them to help people really feel connected to why they should listen to you. Finally, we have proof. Okay, and this is made up of transformation and aspirational identity. So the first part to proof is actually like taking people through a process of making you relatable. So what we need a moment where you have a relatable downfall. So for me, this was 2 years ago when I was co-running an agency, and despite us we were doing like $40,000 to $50,000 months. But I was seeing, similar to this girl that I spoke to, I was seeing none of it. I wasn't seeing any of it. I was like it was a brutal time. There was a number of times when I would get on Zoom calls with my business partners, and I would be so stressed out because I couldn't afford rent and I couldn't afford food that I would cry on Zoom with them. And they in fairness to them, they obviously didn't know how to handle it apart from recommend that I get a job. And so it was like, I ended up leaving. I ended up having to leave the agency. I took some of my clients with me, and there was a period of about 4 months where there was many days where I literally couldn't afford food. And that was not something that I thought I would ever have to go through when I quit dentistry 10 years ago. So when I was a dentist, earning decent money, and I quit to go on this journey of becoming an entrepreneur, never did I think at some point in 10 years down the line, never did I think in 10 years I wouldn't be able to afford food. That's a mad thing for me to have thought. And I didn't expect that. And I know there's a lot of people who feel that too. And the cool thing is that it's taken me 2 years to get to now I don't have to look at the prices on menus. The last 6 months has been sick, and you can have that too. It just takes time. Okay. So we need a relatable downfall moment. The next is we then need the Phoenix rising moment. We actually need the transformation. Where have we come from, and where have we got to? And so this is where we need to talk about, okay, I lost 35 pounds, I lost 55 pounds and completely transformed the way I feel about my relationship with food. And because I've lost 55 pounds, every day I wake up in the morning, I feel fucking amazing. I have so much more energy. My kids see me as a massive inspiration. My wife loves me again because I'm happy. And what is your okay, now you're there, you need to be able to describe why it's amazing. For me, I've been showcasing my journey. Some people have said it's not relatable, saying how I've bought I'm picking up a new Porsche in a few weeks' time. Well, that's because I haven't had a car in 10 years, and I wanted a nice one when I could afford one. So I've fucking ordered a Porsche. But it's you need to talk about okay, now you've got to that point, what does life look like and feel like? You need to be able to describe that, and that's your Phoenix rising moment. Finally, it's your track record. Okay, why should people listen to you? What is your track record? There is a reason why I spoke about at the beginning of this video, the fact that I've been a funnel consultant for some of the biggest brands in the world. And I say that most videos because that is my track record. That's why you should listen to me, because I've kind of been there. And that's why when I talk about running an agency, and despite getting it to 40 to 50K months, life sucked. That's my track record, because some of you and a bunch of my clients can relate to that. So what is your track record? Where have you come from? We need to be really, really clear about that. The final part of this is your aspirational identity. For me, this is an example of my aspirational identity that I have created around me and my business is this idea of being a lifestyle entrepreneur. versus being a typical business builder. So back when I was running the agency, I was just building a business. I had no mission, I didn't have a vision, I didn't have any of this stuff. I had no why, I had no where, I had no backstory. It was just a vehicle to make money. And instead, what I've done in the last 2 years is I have built a business backwards. So I've built a business based on my origin, vision, and mission, knowing where I've been, where I want to go, and why I want to go there. And I'm now creating this vehicle. 30 minutes is up. I'm creating this vehicle that actually fuels my lifestyle and fuels a life that I'm fucking stoked about. And so the question is what is the aspirational identity that you are creating? Who should people be like attracted to be like? I'll give you an example of this, like in the content world. So there's a content creator called Hamza, Hamza. If you search him, yeah, you'll be able to find his stuff. But in his content, he talks about this. He's the best at creating this us versus them dynamic between lifestyle, between the aspirational identity and the anti-aspirational identity. So he calls like the aspirational identity this idea of an Adonis character, and then I think his like anti-aspirational identity is this like his character. I think he's called Jeffrey. I don't watch much of his content, but like I think he's called Jeffrey. Now, what that does is that gives this really clear like push and pull, us versus them dynamic, which makes you feel when you watch his content that it's like, yeah, I'm an Adonis. I want to be an Adonis. I don't want to be like this Jeffrey character. I want to be like this Adonis. I want to go through this transformation like Tom has been through, like Hamza has been through, like all of these guys have been through. And it's really important that we create this push and pull by having an us versus them dynamic between our aspirational identity and our anti-aspirational identity. Okay, and the way to then wrap all of this shit together, and this is the final piece of the puzzle, is you build a code. And imagine this as like a kind of a code of ethics or a code of beliefs or a code of values. And what you do is you say, hey, lifestyle entrepreneurs, we believe in a life like this, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Like these are the things that we believe. These are our core values. But on the other hand, you write business builders believe in A, X, Y, Z, whatever, fucking like all of the stuff that is the opposite. So for me, lifestyle entrepreneurs, we're all about warm outreach as the main client acquisition mechanism, compared to business builders who rely in cold outreach, reaching out to people who don't know who the hell they are. And so we're like all of these different things, and there's plenty of videos on my channel which I talk about what my kind of code is. But then you need to have that so it's very clear, black and white. Okay, this is what we believe in. This is what we don't believe in. If you believe in these things like I do, come and join us, okay? And so that's it. When it comes to building a micro cult brand, you need your world, which is made up of your world, your beliefs, and then you need stories, which is made up of your journey and results, and then we need proof, which is your transformation and your aspirational identity. Okay, now, once you've kind of got all of these together, you just need to make shitloads of content, okay? Loads and loads and loads of content frequently for like 2 years. And the key to this is understanding that when you start with this stuff, there is a period of time that things are going to feel like they really are tough and you're not getting anywhere. And this period of time is called the leverage trap. And it's super important that you're able to navigate it and get through it to get to the other side, which is called the leverage payoff. Now, I've made a short, I think 20 to 30 minute video all about navigating that period and how, like what to do. And you can watch that here. Okay, that was sick. See you in the next one.